Hello everyone, and today we're going to be taking our 2020 Mustang and adding a beautiful Strut Tower Brace. Now the steps we're going to be going over is how to paint and install this brace, and this is also going to include some custom-made Strut Tower covers as well. So let's get started. And here are some of the products we'll be using for today. Now I'm not going to point out every individual item, it's going to take a little bit too much time, so instead I'll go ahead and leave a list in the description below. So if we take a look at our custom-made covers, they look beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and start with these first. And we're going to start with some 600 grit sandpaper and a sponge. And then we're going to wrap the sandpaper around the sponge. Then grab your soapy water and we're going to douse everything, cover and sandpaper. And the whole idea is we're going to scuff up the surface and smooth out just a little bit to give something to paint in here to. And now that we scuffed up the surface enough, let's go ahead and grab some water and we're going to rinse off all that soap. So just make sure you get all the soap out of the nook and crannies, and then grab your microfiber cloth and we're going to go ahead and dry it out. And let's take a look at it. It doesn't look too bad at all. I think we're in good shape. I'll put that in the sun and I'll do the next one as well. And after our cover is completely dried, let's go ahead and grab some alcohol and a microfiber cloth. Douse a little bit on your microfiber cloth. We're going to wipe down the whole cover. The whole idea is we want to get any soapy residue left behind and make the surface completely clean. And nice and shiny. That looks pretty good. And the last step we do before spraying is we're going to prep the surface using a tack cloth. Now the tack cloth is going to be very useful throughout this video. You're going to see me do it various times before I spray any surface. It's going to remove any dust or any small particles on the part you're spraying. And just as an FYI, before I use any can, they're typically soaking in warm water just to help get it up to room temperature a lot quicker. Alright, now let's get back to our covers. So the first step we're going to do is apply our adhesive promoter. So make sure you shake the can for 2 minutes. Then we'll grab our paper towel, wipe the nozzle off, do a little test spray. Comes out pretty good. Wipe the nozzle again. And now we can begin spraying the part. And I'm going left to right. And then I'm going to wipe the nozzle off. And then go up and down. We want to create a hatch pattern. Now anytime you spray, you want to make sure you start before the part and continue spraying until after the part. You do not start spraying on the part. And since this is being done outside, let's cover it up with a bag, wait 20 minutes, and now we're ready to apply our primer. So go ahead and grab some Sandable primer, shake for about 2 minutes, and then we'll do the same pattern. We're going left to right, get a nice even coat, and again I'm starting before the part and I'll continue spraying until after the part. We'll go ahead and wipe the nozzle off periodically and do the same thing in the opposite direction. And then we're going to go ahead and let this sit for about 15 minutes. Alright, so far it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and flip these over so I can get an even coat on the other side as well. And after 2 coats of primer, we're going to go ahead and let this sit for 30 minutes to fully dry. And now we're ready to wet sand our covers once again. So grab your soapy water and your 600 grit sandpaper. And go ahead and douse everything in soapy water. And we're going to do a little bit of light sanding. Do not apply a lot of pressure. You just want to let the sandpaper do the work. The whole idea is we're going to smooth down that primer we applied earlier. And of course, after wet sanding, we always need to clean them off. So grab your water and then your microfiber cloth to dry them out. And then we'll throw them out in the sun just to help the process. And we'll do the same thing on the other cover as well. And after we let these dry out in the sun, grab your alcohol and your microfiber cloth. And we're going to wipe these down. We just want to make sure there's no soapy residue left behind. And just make sure you get a nice thorough scrub in there. Looks good. And just like before, we're going to use our tack cloth and wipe these down before we do any spraying. Again, we don't want any dust or debris under our base coat. That's going to look really bad and it may create problems later. Now this is where some of the fun begins. I'm going to take a black base coat and I'm going to start with the background of the logo. So I did a little test spray, wipe the nozzle, same as earlier. And I'm going to do nice even coats on the logo. I don't really care about getting it on the cover, I just want it on the logo itself. This is going to be a little bit of a process, but it's going to come out looking pretty good. And after 15 minutes have passed, we're going to apply another coat of this black background. Again, same process, nothing special. I'm just putting 2 coats for the black background. And after 30 minutes, the paint should be dry enough to touch, so we're going to start with our second layer. So the second layer, I'm going to go with that little blue area in between the arms. So I'm going to wipe it down with a tack cloth again. Same thing. Anytime I spray, I always wipe it down with a tack cloth. Then I'm going to grab a stencil. I went ahead and made a few of these stencils and cut out certain spots based on what area I want to paint. So I'm going to set that right there. Grab our Kona blue paint. Now this is a base coat that I ordered online. Shake it for 2 minutes. Then I'm going to hold down my stencil and paint right in that one little area. And it doesn't matter where it goes as long as it's not on the black logo. And then we'll lift the stencil up and we'll take a look. Logo's still black and we got blue where we want it. That's perfect. Let's do the other cover as well. And now we got to let this sit for 30 minutes, let that blue paint dry. And now we're ready for the third layer. Now the third layer is going to be kind of bizarre. So I'll grab my stencil and I cut out the areas that I want to be painted white. So I'll put that where it's supposed to be. And then we're going to shake our can again for 2 minutes. And this is going to be a white paint. Again, this is going to look a little bizarre. I'm going to do it really quick. There we go. One more spray. And then move the stencil. And that's about where we want our white areas. That look perfect. So let's do the other cover as well. Looks very nice. Now since my stencil wasn't perfect, I went ahead and grabbed a paint pen of the same color, shake it up. I want to add a few little detail spots where I couldn't put the stencil at. So I'm going to do other by the legs and the knees. Beautiful. And we're going to wait 30 minutes to let this fully dry. And now we're ready for our fourth layer. Now this one requires a little bit more work. This one we're going to need painter's tape as well as a razor blade. The whole idea is I want to paint the outside of the logo. So I'm going to tape off the whole logo like you see here. See if I can get it nice and smooth. Very nice. Now I'm going to take a razor blade and slowly cut around the logo. This is going to take time. Take your time on this. You do not want to cut into the cover itself. And take your time if you notice I'm doing it piece by piece just to make sure I don't make too many mistakes. And then to do the editing, there's the second one as well. So now we can grab our Kona Blue once again, shake for 2 minutes, and now we can spray the whole cover. This may take a few coats, so I'm going to do the same process earlier, left to right, and then up and down. And in between coats, we're going to allow 15 minutes to pass. And then I'm going to apply my second coat. Now you're going to notice these are flipped over. I just want to give it a nice even distribution of paint all around these covers. And after 15 minutes have passed, we're going to work on our third and final coat. Now this one I'm going to focus on the edges just to make sure we have every spot covered. And after 30 minutes have passed, the paint should be dry enough for us to touch. And now we can peel away our painter's tape. So I have to get my fingers in there and start peeling it away. This is actually looking pretty good. Starting to not look too shabby at all. And there's still a little bit of tape on the edges, but I'll peel those off camera. And look at the second one. And that one looks pretty good as well. This actually is coming out the way we want it to. And I'll do a little bit of light sanding just to clean that up. And now we can focus on the brace. The first thing we're going to do is take off this label plate. But the way to take it off, there's 2 rivets. There's one right there, and the other one is right there. It's very easy to take these off, and I'm going to show you the trick. So what we're going to grab is our drill with our 5/32 drill bit, and we're going to drill into the top of the rivets. And you only have to do this just a little bit. So there it is. The top came right off. So peel that right off your drill bit. And do the same thing with the other rivet as well. Very nice. So right then and there, the rivets fell right out. But unfortunately, the label plate is stuck to the brace itself. So we're going to have to take this off. So go and grab a zip tie, or you can grab fishing line, whatever you have available. I had a zip tie laying around. And get right under this label plate. And very slowly and gently, just start peeling it away. So you can see little by little, I'm just working it very slowly. And it's coming right off. There we go. And this came right off. Now be careful, this thing is flimsy. And it will bend very easily. And it looks like we have some double sticky tape residue left behind. But we can remove it using an eraser wheel and drill. So I'm going to put my knee on the brace so it doesn't go anywhere. And as the wheel is turning, all this residue is flying right off. This is actually a pretty cool tool. I like it. It's very good for getting decals or anything off your vehicle without damaging the clear coat. Now let's repeat the same step on the label plate as well. Why not? We have the wheel out. We're going to clean off all this residue. Now you're going to have a little bit left behind the nook and crannies because the wheel can't get there. Just rinse it out under the sink and it'll look good as new. Alright, now we get to go through the same process we did with the covers. Grab your sponge, your 600 grit sandpaper, your soapy water, and then we're going to spray down not only the sandpaper, but spray down the whole brace itself. Our goal is to scuff up the powder coat, that way all the primer can adhere to this brace. The better job you do here, the better chances your paint and primer will stick. And as always, after wet sanding, we need to clean off our part, so go ahead and grab your water and your microfiber cloth, and just make sure you rinse off any soapy water left behind. And at this point, I think we're ready to set up our paint area. So I have these 9x12 drop cloths. They're very inexpensive and easy to get a hold of. And all I need is 2 of them. So I'm going to set up the back of the truck as a little mini paint booth. And now that the paint booth is set up, let's grab our rubbing alcohol and our microfiber cloth. And let's wipe down our brace just to make sure there's no extra soapy residue or oils left behind. And just like the covers, we're going to grab a new tack cloth and we're going to wipe down the surface of this brace. We want to prep it before we do any spraying. We want to make sure, again, there's no dust on this since we're doing this outside. Now let's go ahead and grab our adhesive promoter and we're going to shake for 2 minutes. And we're going to start with the bottom of the brace. And I'm going to start with up and down motions, just like we do with the paint. I'm not changing my strategy here. Before the part and after the part. And then we'll go left to right as well. We're going to place the cover down, put some magnets on there, wait 20 minutes, and now we're ready for our primer. Shake for 2 minutes, and then we'll start with the up and down motion. Get through the whole brace. Then we'll change direction and go left and right. And then we'll put our cover down, wait 15 minutes, and then do the same process all over again just to apply a second coat. And after 30 minutes have passed, the primer should be dry enough to flip over. And we're going to grab our adhesive promoter and do the same process on the top side of the brace as well. So go ahead and do even coats. We're going to wait our 20 minutes. And now we can apply our Sandable primer. And again, same process, up and down. And then once that's coated, we'll go left and right. And after 15 minutes have passed under the booth, we'll go ahead and apply our second coat as well using the same process. Now after 30 minutes have passed, the primer should be pretty dry, and now we can wet sand it once again. So I'm going to take my 600 grit sandpaper and my soapy water. We're going to spray down the part just like we did before. Now when you sand it, do not apply a lot of pressure. We're going to go very easy on it. Your whole goal is you want to let the sandpaper do the work. We just want to smooth out that primer we applied. And of course we're going to rinse it off using water, and we'll see how smooth it is. Not too shabby. And grab your microfiber cloth and let's dry her out. And again, grab your rubbing alcohol and microfiber cloth. This notice you're getting a little repetitive here. And we're going to wipe down the brace again to remove all that soapy residue. And I'm sure at this point you probably feel like Bill Murray in Groundhog's Day, but grab your tack cloth and let's go ahead and prep the top surface for paint. Alright, now we're ready to see some magic happen. So let's make sure we grab our Kona Blue base coat. Yep, looks good. Let's shake for 2 minutes. We're going to wipe our nozzle. We're going to continuously do this. Do a little test spray. And then we'll go ahead and paint the top of our brace. And again, side to side, and then I'll go up and down. And I'll push it under the plastic, wait 15 minutes. And then go ahead and do another coat as well. Same process. And we'll go ahead and let this sit for 30 minutes. And I'm going to apply a little bit of tape to the areas that are going to touch the cardboard boxes. So the whole idea is when I apply tape here, it won't stick to the box because this box has an adhesive promoter and other paints on there. So we'll set that down gently and then grab our tack cloth and again prep the surface before we do any spraying. And now we're ready to grab our Kona Blue, wipe the nozzle, do a little test spray, and then apply our first coat to the bottom of the brace. And after 15 minutes has passed, let's do our second coat. And after 30 minutes have passed, the paint is dry enough for us to touch. So let's grab our painter's tape and we're going to prep some of the areas that we don't want white paint to get on. And then we're also going to do the supports so that way it doesn't stick to the box as well. And then we can turn over our brace. And then we can focus on taping off that center area. Now take your time on this. You want to make your line straight as possible. And once we tape this off, this is the area that's going to be painted white. So I'm going to show you a nice little trick I'm going to do with the corners. I want to grab a dime and a razor blade. And I'm going to trace out the dime with the razor blade so it gives it a nice smooth radius. And then once those are done, let me go ahead and tape off the edges and make sure no white paint's going to get on those as well. And of course, let's go ahead and prep the area with our tack cloth. So let's grab our white paint, shake for 2 minutes, and we'll go ahead and wipe off the nozzle as usual. Do a little test spray. Yep, looks good. And let's go ahead and spray the center of the brace. And we'll get a nice little even coat. Wait 15 minutes and do our second coat. And after we apply our second coat, we're going to immediately start removing the tape. You want to do it while it's still wet. The whole idea is when it's wet, it will peel off a little easier and not take the paint with it. So I'm going to start with the edges here, and you want to remove the tape at a 45-degree angle. So let's see, there's the one in the front and the one in the back. Oh, that looks very nice. That side one looks pretty good. Unfortunately, that side one didn't turn out as well. And it looks like I didn't push the painter's tape down enough. No problem. We'll go ahead and paint it with blue paint. Wait 30 minutes. Tape it off. And then I'm going to paint that one section with white paint once again. And after 30 minutes have passed, let's go ahead and flip over the brace and start removing some of this tape because we're going to prep the area for clear coat. And as usual, grab your tack cloth and give her a wipe down. And now we're ready to grab our clear coat. This is going to be a 2K clear coat, so shake for 2 minutes. Take the cap off the top, and then we want to press down on that stem at the bottom of the can. So press down till it snaps. Very nice. And then you're going to shake for another 2 minutes. Make sure you shake this very well. Then we'll wipe the nozzle, do a test spray, and you want to apply a nice light coat on your first coat of clear coat. And we're going to do both the brace as well as the covers at the same time. And after 15 minutes have passed, we can apply our second coat. Now this one can be a little bit thicker. And again, we're going to do both the covers and the brace. And after an hour has passed, we're going to apply a little bit of tape to the bottom supports of the brace just so we can start coating the top of the brace. And as before, we're going to start with a nice thin coat. Then we'll go wait 15 minutes. Then we'll start with our second coat. I'm going to flip this around just so I can get the backside a little bit better. And we're going to apply our second coat, wait 15 minutes. And apply our third and final coat.
24 hours later.
So after 24 hours later, it looks like this clear coat cured very nicely. It looks beautiful. I liked how this turned out. So let me set this down and grab my label plate. And this thing, we need to reattach this, but we're not going to use rivets. We're going to use something different. We have these nice screws right here. These are pretty cool, and it actually makes it look very nice. I think it looks better than rivets. These are called Chicago screws. And with the Chicago screws, once you screw them together, it gives a nice flush look. So these are nickel plated, which are going to work out very nicely. And then grab the bottom half of the screw and press it right into the bottom of the brace. Now these screws were ordered for this exact size, so it works out very nicely. And now flip the brace over, so now it's facing upward. Very nice. Grab your plate, and it looks like it matches up very nicely. And grab some thread locking compound. I want you to do a very small dab. A dab will do you for this one because these screws are very small. And I'll repeat the same step for the other side as well. Then grab your flathead screwdriver and go ahead and tighten these up until they're snug. And after adding that label plate, it gives it a nice little finishing touch. I like that. And now we can move on to insulation. Now for those who have hood struts, which I do, you do need to remove the hood strut before removing the battery cover. And then there's 3 retaining clips. 1, 2, and 3. And these unscrew very easily, and you can drop them very easily as well. So there's 1, and 2. Ooh, 2. And the last one, 3. And then go ahead and set those aside. And now we can remove the battery cover. Just lift up and then pull out. Very nice. And now we can remove our battery terminals. You always start with the negative first, so grab your 10mm socket and socket wrench. And we'll go ahead and take off this nut. There we go. And then lift the negative cable and set it aside. And then we're going to repeat the same steps for the positive side, but you don't have to take the nut all the way out, just got to loosen it. And then we can pop off this wiring harness retainer. So this pops right up. Come on. There we go. And then we can set the positive cable aside. So now let's focus on the passenger side strut brace tower studs. And then grab your 15mm socket, or deep well socket. And we're going to loosen up both these lock nuts. So there's one. If it comes all the way out, there we go. And then we'll take out the second one as well. And then very gently, we're going to place in our new brace. Oh man, that looks beautiful. That just fits like a glove. All right, and I have brand new lock nuts. You have to order a few extras with this brace. And these have these nylon inserts, which means we do not use thread locking compound. So let's get started by installing all 4 of these nuts. Now I'm going to start by finger tightening every one of these and just make sure they're the right sizes for 1. And 2, to make sure that I don't cross thread them. So there's 3 and then 4. Very nice. And then grab your 15mm socket and we'll go ahead and tighten these down till they're snug. And with all 4 nuts snug, let's grab our torque wrench and it's set to 41 foot-pounds. And let's go ahead and torque these down to the correct spec. So give it another few turns. There we go. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we can install our brackets. So they have arrows of which direction they're supposed to go, towards the engine and towards the back. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to line up the studs with the holes. Looks pretty good. And you're going to press this right into the tower. And this does require a little finesse, a little bit more. And they're going to be snug. That's a good thing. Oh, that looks pretty good. And we're going to repeat the same steps for the passenger side as well. Just follow the arrows towards the back and towards the engine. Line it up with the studs. Very nice. And give it a nice little hit. And that presses right in. Very nice. And since we're over here, we can reconnect the battery terminals. So we'll start the positive side first. We'll press that right into place. Screw the nut down. Then we'll grab our 10mm socket and socket wrench. And we'll tighten this till snug. And then we'll grab our negative cable and reconnect that one as well. And now we're ready to install our battery cover. So all you have to do is just make sure it lines up the slots and press it right down. Then go ahead and grab your 3 retaining clips and screw them right in. So there's 1, and there's 2, and there's 3. Very nice. And then I'll reinstall my hood strut as well, and that should press right in. Beautiful. And then the last step, all we have to do is install our Strut Tower covers, and these press right on. So I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit. So just line it up with those brackets you installed, which I'm trying to do, and then presses right down. There's nothing special to it. And yep, looks pretty flush. And let me pick up the camera so you can get a better view. And that looks really nice. That looks a lot better than I thought. The paint matching really makes it look good under the hood. And then we'll go ahead and repeat the same step on the other side as well. Just presses right on. Just make sure it's lined up. I hope you found this video helpful and enjoyable. If you did, please like and subscribe.